All right, we're here with our dynamic duo, Robert Reich and Steve Moore. Bob Reich, it's an interesting David Wessel Wall Street Journal interview with Henry Paulson, Treasury Secretary. Mr. Paulson said the financial turmoil would impose a penalty on economic growth, but no recession. Bob Reich, what do you make of that? That's a very interesting statement from the Treasury man.
Well, I think that he's being optimistic, as a treasurer needs to be. I mean, he's trying to build confidence, but actually, this financial crisis, and it is a financial crisis, is beginning to leach over into the real economy. Consumers are getting nervous. Now, I've said on this show for months now, banks had no reason and were exploiting a lot of gullible people and giving them loans. The entire credit rating agency industry was looking the other way. You, Larry, and I'm delighted to be back on the show with you, but let me just criticize you for one second. This is not a Goldilocks economy. I mean, for most Americans, Goldilocks is a fairy tale. It's been a fairy tale.
Low unemployment, rising incomes, expanding production.
No, not rising incomes. For hourly workers, I don't want to get back into this old debate. For hourly workers, it's been nothing, and housing prices have actually started to decline in a lot of places of the economy. But here's one other thing. Let me just get this in. This is very important. For the first time in history, in the late 1990s, most American households began to have savings in stocks and bonds, and now they are seeing those savings collapse. It's going to begin to affect their purchasing decisions. It already has.
Well, but that assumes that this kind of meltdown continues. I mean, it could easily turn around. We've seen a really roller coaster ride on the stock market, but, you know, let's go back to some of those figures, Larry, we talked about on your show last week. The subprime market is about 14% of the mortgage market, right, and 14% of those are in delinquency. So that's 14% of 14%. I just don't see this being a contagion that's going to destroy the credit markets. But here is what happens, Steve. I really don't.
Because you've got this huge unregulated hedge fund industry and all of these derivatives on derivatives on derivatives. So you take the small slice of the national economy that's in trouble, and what has happened is that these derivatives have multiplied the problems, not only across the American economy, but across the entire credit financial economy of the world.
I want to come back to this meeting that we're setting up. In the meeting is President Bush. Right. And Fed Chairman Bernanke, and I would guess Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson. Is the White House about to make a U-turn, Steve, on the economic outlook? Is the White House and Mr. Paulson behind the scenes pushing Ben Bernanke somehow to reflate, to add liquidity, a position I support, but pushing him towards it? Are the White House people going to change their minds about limitations on Fannie and Freddie and even FHA loans? Are we on the verge of a U-turn in White House policy?
Larry, I think maybe yes on the issue of pressuring the Fed to provide even more liquidity, and I've even sort of changed my mind on that in just the last 10 days. I think it might be an appropriate step. On the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac issue, I want to challenge you on this, Bob, because these institutions, I mean, you look at their books, they're like the Enrons of the public sector. Why do we want to put more finance?
Steve, I am not defending Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in terms of the books, but I do think that they are not responsible. The mortgage lenders, were out there pushing these mortgage loans.
We got to leave it there. We got to leave it there. Robert Reich, welcome back. I am thrilled to be attacked by you once again, and Steve Moore, as always, coming up. My last words. Keeping America great.